Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Kaliroi Stavrianou, and on behalf of Global Clinical Engineering Alliance, I'm really happy to moderate this series of webinars that aim to educate, promote collaboration, and also promote information exchange about healthcare technology, engineering, and patients' outcomes. All our webinars are recorded, archived, and also live streamed on Facebook. Following the completion of the webinar, the recording material will be accessible on our website, www.globalcea.org. Please note that at the bottom of the screen, you have a Q&A button where you can submit questions to the faculty, and those questions will be addressed towards the end of the webinar. In addition, for posting general comments, there is the option of the chat box for audience interaction. Please use only the Q&A for your questions to the faculty and not the chat. GCEA is excited to remind you about the addition of a new live translation feature that we believe will bridge the language gap and enhance your video conferencing experience. All you have to do is simply click on the Captions tab at the bottom of your screen and select the caption language you would like to read from the drop-down menu. Today's webinar is entitled GCEA 2022 Awards. Now I'm very pleased to give the floor to the webinar's moderator, Keiko Fukuta, who is Associate Professor in Osaka University Hospital in Japan, member of International Collaboration Committee in Japan Association for Clinical Engineers, IFMP board member, chairperson of GCEA Awards Committee, and GCEA Founders Council member. Keiko is in Japan, and right now it's 3 a.m. in the morning. Therefore, her presentation is recorded. So GCEA's interim president, Yadin David, will be with us to help us moderate the Q&A session.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our recognition program. I am Keiko Fukuta, as the chair of GCEA Award Committee. I am very honored to be here to present 2022 GCEA Award winners activities. Before I invite the presenter, let me explain shortly what is the GCEA Award. GCEA Award is to honor and promote the best model of organizations and individuals whose expertise, passion, and practice made outstanding contributions that impact the field of clinical engineering and or healthcare outcomes. We would like you to utilize the activity of best model for your own improvement activities. Then we hope that international recognition of clinical engineering will improve. There are two awards we were established. First award is the Collaborative Capacity Building Award, which is for groups of a society for their contribution towards collaboration with other countries and associations. Secondly, Technician Technologist Leadership Award. This is for a technologist or technician who shows a demonstration of leadership. This is the procedure of the award 2022. Last year, June, we opened call for recommendations, and we closed recruitment end of July. We have a selection process, and finally, we announced the winner last October. Today, we make a webinar because there are a lot of valuable information they have, and so I want you to learn from them. Okay, first, I would like to invite Mr. Umberto Naku. He is the president of Italian Association of Clinical Engineers. They received Collaborate Capacity Building Award 2022. AIIC was founded in 1993. There are now more than 2,000 members exist. They have many relationships with them, such as health professionals, Minister of Health, institution, and also they have a lot of international relationships, such as IFBE and EAMBE, CERN, and WHO. You can learn from them a lot, so I'm looking forward to their presentation. Mr. Umberto, floor is yours. Secondly, I would like to invite Engineer Ebenezer Osias from Haiti. He received Technician Technologist Leadership Award 2022. He has worked at the Hospital Bien-Faisan de Hignon in Haiti for 16 years. He is responsible for the material management and the biomedical equipment department in this hospital. Moreover, currently, he is a part of a Royal Haiti leadership team as a trainer. He brings with him both technical knowledge, strong leadership ability, and passion for the people of Haiti. Mr. Ebenezer, floor is yours. Finally, I would like to introduce GCEA Award 2023. There are I mentioned 2 awards, and also now we are going to make a new award, which will come soon. So please submit it. And 2023 the procedure. Next month, June, we open a call for recommendation, and we close it end of the August. We have a selection time, and finally, we announce a winner during ICEA TMC 2023 in November in India. So please nominate organizations and individuals around you who have been doing best practices. We look forward to receiving a lot of submissions, and more information will be GCEA website. Thank you very much.
Umberto Noco, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Kaliroy. Thanks to everyone for being here tonight. Let me just check if you can see my screen. Okay, I will start right away with the presentation. First of all, let me thank GCEA and all the committee for and the submissioners for giving us this award. It's been a real pleasure. We've been with as an association with the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance ever since, from the beginning of the alliance, since as a national, although being a national association, we figured out also through the talk we had with Yadin and Tom Judd and everyone that being in a counterpart that could be a global, could have a global vision, could help us enhance also the capacity we have within our single state. And that's why we decided to keep up with this relationship we've started through the years with other associations around Europe and around the globe, to have this group going on that will help us enhance the profession and our knowledge about what we're doing so far. As Keiko said before, the association I'm president of was established in 1993, sorry, I misspelled in my first slide, December 15, more or less 1 year after the American College of Clinical Engineering was established. It has many objectives, but the first one is the diffusion of the know-how and the advancement in scientific, technical, and organizational knowledge in the field of clinical engineering. Of course, our focus is based on the Italian territory, being a national association, but through the years we figured out that we need to look a little bit abroad. Not only because we are part of a global world that shares information and stuff, but also because we figured out, and we found out actually, that the possibility of interaction with the institution, especially on a European level, need to be done as a group. The European community, who's in charge of setting out laws for the European community, is not keen on talking to single state representatives, because they are not representative of the entire European group of states. So this is why we need to get together, and through GCEA and through other options we have, we need to establish this kind of working together. One of the things we figured out, going through a little bit of history, because this year, of course, as I said, it's been 30 years since the foundation of the association. We went through our history, and what we found out is that even in the first years of our work together as an association, it was clear to the founding members that we needed to be part in a wider group. Wider being over the borders of our country, because it's not like we can solve all our problems. We can find bits and pieces and suggestions coming from abroad, because basically the profession is quite the same. If you look up and you have the patience to compare what is the first statement in the Italian Association of Clinical Engineering and the American College of Clinical Engineering, they don't differ too much, because of course in those years the idea of our profession and what we need to do was kind of common through all the states. Of course, 30 years have gone by, and so what we're doing today as clinical engineers and health technology managers has changed through the years, and this is why we need to evolve in our profession. And to do so, of course, we've been working through the years basically in two different levels. One is a sort of inside view, which is translated into teaching and coaching. We have to do stuff for ourselves, and the other thing is we have to look outside the association. And of course, the bigger you are, the more you're keen on looking outside also your state and trying to get into contact with other association closer to you. So for us, being France and Germany and Austria, stuff like that, and then maybe even to the greater world over the ocean into other continents. Just to give you a brief story, through the years, we've been growing quite a bit, because we started in 1993. There were only 18 people founding the Italian Association, and the last counts at the end of last year, 2022, counted 1,900 people, more than 1,900 people. Throughout Italy, there is a kind of balanced distribution between the northern and the central and the southern part of Italy. It's not been like this through the years. At the beginning, we had many more clinical engineering departments and consequently associates and members of the Italian Association in the northern part of Italy. But in 30 years, the profession was spread out throughout the country. which is quite not, of course, not as big as the United States, but it's quite long, and there are many differences, especially in the regulation among the regions. So it wasn't really obvious to have this kind of distribution after 30 years. The other two things we looked into and we found out in the survey we did last year is that more than half of the members of our society work in the public administration. As most of you may know, the Italian healthcare system is public based, and most of the hospitals are public institutions. And if we go back in the years, there were not as many clinical engineers working for public hospitals. And knowing that 50% of members, more than 50% of the members of the society are working in public hospitals, it's really a good result. To some extent, I have to say that there was a major burst during the COVID year, the 2 COVID years, because in those years, more than before, it became clear that technology managers and people who could handle the technology, acquire it, test it, and see if it was safe to be used, was kind of a cultural acquisition we had in the past 2 or 3 years, unfortunately, because of a pandemic. But from a professional point of view, probably the result was worth it. And so here we are saying that most of the people are working in the public area. One of the other things that it's quite nice to look into, at least in Italy, this is the trend we're having so far. We have to say that we are young association, meaning that the more or less, I would say 80 to 90% of the members are have an age lower than 49 years old. And so it's a very young profession in Italy. And having more than half of the members who are less than 39 years old. And the other interesting figures we saw in having this survey is that the younger, the more women we have in the association, meaning that new engineers are women, new biomedical engineers who end up working in the clinical engineering world are women. Older people, of course, we have a higher percentage of male clinical engineers. This is also another trend we have to look into because we have to take care and see what's going on and what we will have in the next years. But if we look into starting students in the biomedical school, in biomedical engineering school, this is one of the trends we're seeing so far in Italy. I don't know how it is throughout the world, but this is what we figured out in our state. Of course, if you want to establish some kind of capacity building and trying to be effective towards the institutions and everything in a kind of big state, and as I said before, we have in Italy is divided into 20 regions, and the Italian constitution states that public health is to be ruled to some extent on a regional basis, starting from national laws. It's kind of complex process, but I think it's quite easy to understand. It's kind of working through a federal way of approaching the problem, but it's not really demand everything put out to a regional. We have national laws that state how the things need to be done and everything, but still local governments can do their own politics on healthcare system. This is why we decided that if we want to be effective in this collaboration with the institution, we have to work both on a national and on a regional level. Otherwise, these two aspects and these two ways of working on and ruling the healthcare system will never be kept together. This is why we decided to establish regional committees. Of course, we have regional representatives who kind of collect and put together all the members and do what is stated in the bullet point you see there. So they interact with the local institutions because of government policies, local policies. Of course, they have to run regional meeting with members. You will find regions, for example, like the one I work into, where you have many people working there because there are more than 150 clinical engineers, maybe 200 working in Lombardy. And there are smaller regions, but regardless of that, we need to keep us together. And this is one of the other things we learned, unfortunately, in the outbreak period, because we needed to establish some sort of relationship between one another if we wanted to keep up with informations and ruling and device availability and stuff like that. Then regional groups have to work with the university and students. They have to organize, they are asked to organize workshops and events on a local basis. They have to do some PR work, AD, advertising of the activity on a regional basis, go and invite politicians and stuff like that. And of course, they have to make local people know what's going on a national basis. So there are many things to do, and to some extent, these could be the things that could be done on a broader level. I mean, when we're talking to our friends and colleagues in France and throughout Europe, basically we kind of resemble this organization as regional level. If you look at it from a European point of view, Italians are a regional level of the European point of view. So this is more or less what you need to do on a local basis if you want to relate to the European institution and try to hook up to the other guys that work throughout Europe. Of course, having the association, it's not like being the more the merrier. I mean, it's the more the merrier when you see each other for an evening and a party out. But when you have to work, you still have to figure out who are the ones who are keen on working and doing stuff for the association, and the ones that are kind of, you have to pull them back, and they're fun when somebody else has introduced nice things for them. So we have a board of directors, which you see in the picture. The picture was taken actually last week in Florence at our National Congress, and we established committees who have to work on specific items and things, more or less like the Global Clinical Engineer Alliance has been doing so far. So the call we do all the time every year is for new people to come up and show up and say, okay, I want to do something with you guys on this specific subject because I like it very much and very good at it, or whatever you can think of. Because our profession has grown in number, but also in competence and in differentiation of what we do every day. And so as a national association, but also as I would say a European federation, and of course the bigger on a world basis, more or less you have to take a look into all the aspects of our work. So we're working on international activities, and Stefano Bergamasco is very active in this subject. Of course, our Congress as an organization, because I'm going to be talking about that in about a few minutes. Connecting to the National Order of Engineers, which is the institution who runs all the engineering matters in Italy, and you need to keep in touch with them and work with them, being us an engineer. So you don't want them to state something that goes beyond or kind of rules out our profession. You need to keep in touch with them. And of course, HDA training and telemedicine and ICT, which has come even more and more important through the years. To keep up the body of knowledge, what we figured out so far is that since we work in a highly technical environment, we can do a lot of capacity building, working on public speaking and how to handle politics and stuff like that, but still you need to keep a high attention on different issues, different technical matters. So you need to keep training really high and running on this subject. This is why we've been spending quite some money on continuous technical training through courses, workshops, meetings with vendors, because they are important. The yearly Congress, which many of you may know, has both scientific sessions, but also a big exhibition, because we think that the connection to the vendors and knowing what is going on in the field and new innovation that comes in the medical device sector, it's really important. And then one thing we started last year, which is the summer school, I'm going to be talking in about two seconds. Last year, we were able to run 17 resident courses, meaning that people were in the room. We're still not working very much on webinars. We kind of like, as Italians, we kind of like to meet together and see each other. And of course, distances in our state help us, because we're not very far away from each other. And so that helps us. On the right side of the screen, you see the subjects we've been dealing with through the years in these tutorials and workshops and everything. We still need to do more. There's more to be done, because you're never at the ending point in this kind of work and of association kind of thing, because we need to do more on publications and guidelines. To make it real short, to me, written stuff works better. It's mandatory to have written stuff. Of course, it's hard to handle, because you have to get back to it and make it and keep it up and keep it updated. But still, once it's written, it's more usable by all the clinical engineering community. Of course, as I said before, one of the major events we're having is the annual Congress. Why am I talking about this? Not just because we finished last week, but because it was a very nice experience, very important. We had many people there, many booths, 120 booths, where we could see what's going on in the field. And everyone was there, because as you can see from the participant numbers, there were more participants than the members of the association. This means that we're collecting people from outside. We're meeting people from outside, and all the stakeholders of the system come to the Congress to talk about technology and innovation and health technology management. And this is very important, since we want technology to be a relevant part of the healthcare system. And that's why you need to invest on such and put some big money on such an organization. Of course, when you see it running, it's really nice. It's really fun. You get to see a lot of people you may not see through the year, or you haven't seen for the past 2 or 3 years. And so it's also a way of getting together, which is, to me, it's another very important thing. Webinars are very nice. They're fine. They're really important in our profession, but still meeting with people, talking to them and seeing each other in person, it's really important. This is one of the other reasons why I established another activity we started last year, because since we have a very young young age of the majority of the members, we figured that we need to have them trained very well, but not in a university style point of view, meaning that I give you the information, you collect them, and then that's it. It's more like trying to put together this training approach, sending knowledge to the people, but from people who've been doing the work for quite some time, and from people who are younger clinical engineers, but still working as clinical engineers. So we really wanted people who've been working for 1 or 2 or 3 years to attend the school, because they need to exchange experience. It's not just like giving lectures and stuff like that. Then, of course, this is easier to be done if you put people together, you send them to a nice place, Maybe you have as we had last year, a little bit of seaside. So at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you can go and take a bath and sunbathe on the seaside and talk together. Because after lessons, after classes, what we could do at the summer school is spend time together, all week long. And this was really, it created a real network between the people who were there, both students and teachers. And this is very helpful through everyday life. Because if you have a problem, if you're in your profession, if you're facing something that you can't just come up with, you just pick up the phone and call a guy you've been staying with at the school, at the summer school, so you know it a little bit better, and you can exchange expertise, ideas, and really the body of knowledge of our profession, which is, to some extent, it's really everyday life put into service of all the communities. So this is why we did last year as a first experience, and we're doing it again next year. Of course, the professional community need to have instruments to share knowledge, information, and stuff like that. So WhatsApp, it's a really good way of keeping people together, to some extent better than email. Of course, we do have a mailing list, because for bigger informations, mail is still needed, and a newsletter that we send out every month to keep updated with what's going on inside the association and outside the association. We established 2 awards this year, national-wise, of course. One is more or less is similar to what GCEA and IFMBS are doing for the World Congress in November. So it's basically a call for abstract, but still we're trying to have some important people judge the work and give awards to the best written and to the best and the most important things. And another prize we started this year was this technology innovation prize, meaning that as clinical engineers, most of the time we spend in our institution is given to evaluating technology, evaluating innovation, and everything that needs to be introduced in our institution to make healthcare system more effective and more efficient and safer. And so we wanted it to do it on the innovation point of view, asking vendors to propose what they think is their foremost innovation at the moment. And it was a first try this year. We had very good response, very good products proposed, and so we could, as clinical engineer, we could use our knowledge and our what we're doing every day to try to evaluate this innovation and give a prize. It's not worth the price, because we're not giving everything to the vendors, but it's really a matter of having a community of professionals who works with innovation and technology know what's going on in the field. Still, again, this know-how that exchanges between producers and us as users of the device, it's really important. Otherwise, we will always be running back on what they're doing every day with their innovation and new stuff they're putting on the field. And of course, you need to have connections as presence in work groups and working together at the Ministry of Health. We have a National Institute of Healthcare with more like a research system inside Italy, and also on a regional level, because you need to be present as clinical engineer where the laws are written to make them effective on the healthcare system. I'm almost done. No, I'm done actually. So thank you for your attention. I'm finished, so I'll give back to Yadin, and thanks a lot for the prize and for inviting me to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Umberto. Thank you for your presentation. And now we will give the floor to Evanel Osayas.
Hey, thank you very much. So can everyone hear me very well?
Yes, Evanel, we can hear you well.
Yes, and I might need to turn off my camera to save internet, because I'm in Haiti. So if this is not a problem. Is that okay?
Yes, of course. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and it is an honor, a pleasure for me to be here today, this afternoon. And I have to thank the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance for rewarding me as a technologist working in Haiti, and I'm very passionate. And you can even see from the side of my presentation, as I said, being a biomed is a very enriching experience as you are working on equipment that used to save lives of patients. And my subject today is going to be the problematic of medical oxygen in Haiti. And you can see from my slide, from left to right, you see a VSA plant, like a oxygen generator that produces oxygen. And from the right side, on the right side, you can see a lot of cylinders, and we hopefully that they are full so that they can be used whenever they need. Next slide, please. And as an introduction, we need to know what oxygen is, and we can say that oxygen is basically an essential element in the respiratory process of most living cells and in combustion processes. And the deoxygen is a colorless, is odorless gas, and it constitutes about 1/5 of ambient air, which we often confuse with oxygen, the chemical element with the symbol that we call O. Next slide, please. So we are going over the history of the oxygen, and we are going to talk about the discovery of oxygen. And if you look at this slide, from left to right, the oxygen, in fact, was discovered by these two people. First, in 1773 by Carl Wilhelm Scheele and Joseph Priestley in 1774. And you can see the oxygen was administered by the first doctor, Dr. George Zappel, on March 6, 1885. So this is basically a summary, and the oxygen was discovered by both Carl Wilhelm Scheele and Joseph Priestley, and the oxygen was administered for the first time by Dr. George Zappel for the treatment of pneumonia on March 6, 1885. Next slide. And we can say, as an overview, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we can say every breath counts. And my presentation will focus on oxygen delivery and challenges seen related in the adaptation. So the fact is that with the COVID-19, the volume of oxygen needed is way more than normal. So basically in Haiti, prices are higher due to the demand and the fuel shortages in Haiti. Next, please. And in fact, some hospitals have the capacity to produce their own oxygen as they have oxygen generators. So it could be either a PSA plant, which is a vacuum, which is an absorption pressure, and either it could be a VSA, which is a vacuum system. But the challenge is that more patients with COVID-19 or any diseases related to respiratory as usual. So more oxygen is being used, plus with the fuel shortage in Haiti, the oxygen generator cannot run for longer hours. Next slide. In this way, other hospitals could supply oxygen from those having the capacity of producing. Oxygen cylinders and regulators shortage as well, which make getting enough oxygen also challenging. Next. So Haiti as a low resource country, oxygen concentrators play a key role of oxygen delivery for the patient during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it is very important to keep maintaining them on a regular basis, including checking the concentration, what we call the purity of the oxygen delivered by the unit, plus continuous training for the users for properly used. Next slide. And as a lesson learned from my side, based on my experience, So not only there is a shortage of oxygen in the country of Haiti, but considering all the political issues in my country, unrest and security, roadblock in the country, this has made the situation getting worse. And we are very fortunate with the support of the USAID, from the American people. So there is a program set up to maintain all the oxygen generators installed in Haiti, in all of the in all the hospitals in the country, and plus including an oxygenotherapy training they are planning to do for all the nurses and all the doctors, because they figure out that based on experience, so a patient can be admitted can be administered oxygen, and this patient die because he received more oxygen than he has to receive. Because we know that oxygen is vital for the health, but it is also toxic for the health also. So it's a question of use oxygen and use it properly. So, and that's why they're planning on doing an oxygenotherapy training for all the nurses and the doctors, so that they can administer the oxygen safely to the patients. Next slide. And basically, this is the end of my presentation. I did not want to be too long, and I suspect I may have a lot of questions, and that's why I had my presentation so short. And I have to thank again the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance for having me to invite me to this webinar. And thank you very much again for your attention.
Thank you, Evanel, for your great presentation. And I will give the floor to Dr. Yadim David for the Q&A session.
Fantastic. 2 examples of why awards serve a purpose. Because a group or association perform amazingly good services for their neighboring country, and for a biomedical equipment technician able to complete better service, better accessibility to needed lifeline like an oxygen in really struggling area such as Haiti. Very difficult environment to function in general, and specifically to accommodate healthcare. Very nice, Evanel. The Global Clinical Engineering Alliance wanted to promote excellence in the field, wanted to recognize and create model of excellence. We came up with the first award for collaborative capacity building, mainly about how a group in one geographical location can help other groups in other geographical locations that need help. Last year, the Japan Association of Clinical Engineering won the award for helping Southeast Asia. And this year, it's the Italian Clinical Engineers Association under the leadership of Umberto Nocco this year as a president, helping to move the European Union closer together as far as the clinical engineering functionality, services, and recognition. But we felt after that we need to recognize the whole field, not just the engineers. And therefore, the Alliance decided to have a second award, a second program of recognition for technologists and technicians. We feel that one without the other is not delivering the services in the program in comprehensive form. One cannot live without the other. It's a joint effort. Avenel is the first one that we selected and showed tremendous example of how can one individual consistently bashful about following mission and passion. And you showed us today with your presentation, specifically one area of oxygen, especially with the COVID-19 effect that is so needed and the solution was presented. Very nicely done. You know, Oscar Wilde said that the sincerest form of flattery is to try to imitate, try to copy. If there is a good product and somebody is imitating, as they say on the gray market, that is compliment that the product is really good. And here is the same thing. If you have good model, we want to have good follow-up. And therefore, the Alliance will continue to develop awards. And we have 3 more awards on our launching pad that will be coming to life probably next year. One about compassion and humanistic effort relating to patient safety, named after Marvin Shepherd from California, who just passed away. And many people know him from the forensic engineering and adverse event investigation that he taught around the world. Another one with AMTZ, who is the host of the next Congress in India, and AAMI. Together with the Alliance, we're going to be introducing an award for a company, for a manufacturer, for industrial entity that is demonstrating support for the clinical engineering field. And the last one is initiating from China, and that is an award for education and academic effort to advance the field, and perhaps is the only international such award that will be coming to life. I wanted to tell you that because I think awards are important, but it cannot be just Umberto, Avenel, Caliroy, or me, or Keiko as the chairperson of the award committee working towards that. It involves everybody. It's so difficult to identify those who deserve to be recognized around the world unless you continuously rotating around the world, unless you continuously talk to people like you on the YouTube and Facebook and here on the line listening to us. You need to go and don't be bashful about proposing and submitting a recommendation for candidate. It's very easy. The form is online at the Global CE website under award button, and you can do it anytime. Starting today, we open it up. And then there is a deadline for that, as Keiko reported us in June. So please submit recommendations for candidate. They deserve to be recognized. You deserve to have a friend or a colleague that received the lights on the stage, and the field deserve to be recognized. I think that the Alliance have literally the ICE idea. ICE stand for to incentivize, to incite, to create, to make people make actions, to incite activity, to educate, to connect, and finally to advocate for the field. All of you need to take those steps in mind. Advocate, educate, connect, incite. Bring your friends, bring your colleagues, and make them aware by submitting their name to the committee. Let's see if we have any additional questions, and we'll go to address them. It seemed like that on the Q&A, there is another question for you, Avenel. If you're able to open the Q&A button. Do you have biomedical/clinical engineering association in Haiti, was the question.
Sorry, I saw the 2 questions, and the first one was about but it is basically in French. The question is like to to say again, to present again the, start my video. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so the first question is in French, and they asked me to to repeat again the historicity of the oxygen, which I'm doing right now on the chat, and I'm almost done on March 6, 1885 to treat putrid, sorry.
Can you take a look at the next question and then continue typing after that?
Yes, of course, sure. So, and I'm done with the with sending the response for the for the thing. And the second question, and I replied to this to the first question as this, and I said the oxygen was discovered by both Carl Wilhelm Scheele in 1773 and Joseph Priestley in 1794, and the oxygen was for the first time was administered by Dr. George Zappel to treat pneumonia on March 6, 1885. That was the first answer for my question, and I type it in the chat in French, as the question was asked in French. So the second question is, do you have Biomedical Clinical Engineering Association? No, the answer is no. But what I'm doing now, I have just established, as I presented, I'm the founder and owner and the director of HBS. HBS stands for Haiti Biomedical Solutions. And I'm basically located in the North area. We are in the process of establishing a central office, and we are going to open a training center in July 2023. So, and this is basically going to cover all the basic, things for the basic medical devices. And this is going to cover all the hospitals in Haiti. And to get started, we are going to have about like 1 or 2 technicians from each hospital in Haiti, so that we can continue training them on how to troubleshoot the basic medical devices and all the way to the sophisticated equipment. So unfortunately, we do not have an association yet, but we do have a plan. We do have a service company, and along the way we are going to establish a training center, and we will request the support of any other people in the field from the United States or worldwide, so that we can have this in the country. And that's why I donate my life, I donate my time to stay in Haiti. I've been traveling around the world, but I don't have any temptation to go and live in the United States, because I need my country to change. I understand things are very hard in Haiti, very bad because of insecurity, but not everyone can leave the country. We do need people to stay to serve the community, and that's why I'm staying. So the second question I see, Haiti now, do you handle the frequent breakdown of oxygen concentrator compressor failure? Yes. I'm basically working with the Dalton Foundation as a biomedical equipment technician through my service company. And my service company is in charge of 9 facilities in the country. So I'm talking about the north, and I'm talking about civil oxygen generators in the north area, and one in the west, which is Port-au-Prince, which is I probably will not go, but this is part of our duty. And yes, we do have a lot of booking of oxygen, either concentrators or oxygen generators. So the oxygen concentrators is basically the portable ones that they use. You can connect it with while using electricity. But mainly likely the problem that we have with that is the question of maintenance. And basically it's the user maintenance, because or misuse of the oxygen concentrator. Because let's say that if you are using an oxygen concentrator and you put it against a wall, so naturally that the purity of the oxygen will be low, because there is no airflow coming through, so that because the oxygen generator produce its own oxygen to the patient, and it's instantly. So, and bad filter, dirt filter may happen that you have a low purity, and that's why we encourage most of the BMET to kind of have an observation about like 2-3 months. It depends on the environment, to clean the filters, and also every 3 months. So you check on the purity of the oxygen providing by the oxygen concentrator. Because yes, we can plug it in, it's running, but you do not get the oxygen. That's the oxygen concentrator. But for the oxygen generator, that's like which is quite big, that fill the cylinders. Yes, we do have a lot of working in Haiti. The reason is simple. We don't have technical support because those units come from China, and we are unable to locate the manufacturer so that we can have technical assistance. You cannot even get the spare parts. Let's like a filter, air filter, oil filter, even the oil. So we are now working together through a program to see what can be done if we can locate a source that we can buy the spare parts so we can maintain those oxygen generators. Because the issue is the question of maintaining them properly, because
Right.
they run, but they give a low purity of oxygen.
Okay.
So that's all I can answer for this.
Avenel, let me move to Umberto with the next question, but thank you very much for the detail in responding to the question posted. And you mentioned Ray Dalton. Ray Dalton is a good clinical engineer and a good friend of many North American colleagues. And I appreciate you mentioned his contribution that he has done over the years for Haiti since the earthquake. Fantastic response. Thank you, Avenel. Umberto, you mentioned the AIIC 30 years history, and specifically, I think you shared a slide about the international relations that over the year you developed. I believe you have mentioning the IAMBES, IFMBE, Global CE Day, CERN, which is interesting with the nuclear attitude there, that you have collaboration. My question to you is, now that you received this award, how such a program impact the AIIC moving forward on stronger international relationships? Is a award like this have any impact, any influence? Does the program worthwhile? Do you think that it will do well for Italy to be recognized with that?
As usual, you may not know because, of course, we will see the result through the years. What we need to do is keep up with that, because we feel we are really confident that we need to be talking to the European institution at the European level. We need to exchange expertise throughout Europe. And of course, as you know, we have this kind of particular situation where many states throughout Europe have the same laws about medical devices. So it's easier also to share expertise, knowledge, doubts, and hints and bits and pieces. Of course, what we figured through the years that we have a lot of things to do in our state, in our profession every day. So you need to have someone to kind of pull all the others and get them back together, more or less what you've been doing on a world basis in the past few years. And this is what we need to do in the next few years. I don't know whether the award is going to help us on a national basis. No idea about that. I will talk about that in a couple of years or months or years. You never know, of course. As usual, being recognized on a world basis means that you're doing something important. So hopefully it will help us. But still, we need to work a lot on our own. We need to keep close to the guys. That's why we invited most of them at our Congress last week in Firenze. And this is why we're planning on coming to India in October, because we need to keep up with you, friends.
Yes, and in India, you will be able to see, and Avenel, hopefully you will be there as well, at the AMTZ campus where we will hold the Congress, the whole life cycle, the innovation center, the manufacturing center, the testing center, and the commercialization of medical devices, specifically mobile oxygen concentrator and oxygen plant, compressor for hospital, all being built right there on the same ground we will be, and we can visit that. Umberto, one more question. We have about 1 more minute before the end of our time, but you released a very interesting document on the anniversary of 30 years of AIC a couple of days ago in Firenze. And in that, you look into the future. Can you share a few items from that document? I think you have some 8 specific points you looked at.
8 points. The document comes, we thought that since today, this year, the title of the Congress was about trying to figure out whether technology can be a social issue in the access to healthcare and stuff like that. And so through the document, we wanted to start with 8 points, 8 working points. Those are statements and ways of thinking, what we've been thinking in the past few months, but still they're a starting point. Those are like sentences, and now we need to make them become true. This is why in the next months, we will be working on those 8 points that need to be translated into everyday work, because they're dealing with technology access, technology availability, which are all things that we're talking very much about, but still nowadays that we see technology going also outside the hospital to the patient's house, having all this kind of welfare system. And it's not just healthcare, meaning that you have a disease and you need to be cured. It's more like everyday life, and healthcare comes from everyday life, and technology can help us also in that kind of situation, which may turn out in something that we call illness, and so you need more technology, more specific technology, but still you use it every day. This is where we started from, but we need to work along a lot of that. It's a long way to go.
Thank you. Again, congratulations on winning these awards. Avenel and Umberto, appreciate you taking the time to share the background for your contribution, program, and services with the rest. As Kaliroy stated, we will have the session recorded and placed on our website, and more people will be able to see it on the YouTube channel as well. I would like to ask Kaliroy to bring us to the closing of the session and see if you have any announcement, Kaliroy.
Our next webinar will not actually be a webinar. We will have a GCEA talk on May 31st. And we will let everyone know in the website and through emailing campaigns.
Fantastic.
Thank you for your participation.
Thank you all. See you on the 31st and November in India. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Very much. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.